Tasha is back. We are not doing a horror Bessie breakdown this specific episode. We're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to do.
I was thirsty. I'm sorry.
I'll allow it. We are going to do our top 5. We each have 5. Our top 5 best female performances in a horror movie or a horror TV show. So, we'll go 1 and 1, or we're going to start at our 5th one, and then we'll go 5, 5, 4, 4, like that all the way down. We're going to do these kind of on a semi-regular basis of just kind of doing some lists, because there's tons of options in horror to do top 5s and top 10s. And so we're going to start doing some of those, starting with best female performances. You want to start with your first one, or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay, I'll go first. So my first one is my number 5, which is, and I'm probably going to butcher the last name. So, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry, but Deborah Ayarind, which is the main female lead, the mother in Them, season 1, and Them, the Scare. She is the main female protagonist in both seasons. Oh God, they're so good. I specifically put Them as my choice, though, because that was my introduction to her. And as I'm a mom in real life. So the role that she plays as a mother was something that resonated very strongly with me. But she's a badass. Like she's one of those characters where, like, I feel like sometimes they write mother, and horror, I will say, is a lot better about this than other genres. But there tends to be this thing around moms being weak and not really sticking up for themselves and not sticking up for their families. And it's sort of like, that's just kind of like the normal kind of rhetoric around mother roles in films and stuff, I feel. But she goes through something very traumatic that has happened in the past. Unfortunately, you do get to see it, but it's something traumatic that happens. And then we see her in a modern day dealing with the grief of what she dealt with, the trauma, all of the things associated with it. But also it takes place in the 50s, and they are only one of one black families black family that lives in a predominantly white neighborhood. Or an all white neighborhood, my bad. And so they're treated horribly because of that. And so she's fearing for her safety, her children's safety. She's grieving. She's lost things. Her husband's being weird. Like, there's a lot of layers to her character. And I think the way that this actress portrayed her character in Them, season 1 specifically, was just executed flawlessly. She was strong, but that didn't take away from her emotional side, because you know how they are sometimes. Oh, emotional women, blah, 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 blah. But she was like, you can mess with me and my family if you want to. You will find out. Like, she was very much that balance of like what I feel like I am as a mom. Like, very emotional. It's an emotional thing to be a parent, to have a child that you care about and that you're trying to protect and keep safe and happy and all these things. And then to know that the world is not a safe place for them. And then added to this, because this is not something I have any point of reference for, but then to experience that in a circumstance of racism in the 50s. And not to be confused, because it's pretty much the same now, except the laws are a little bit different, but not by much. And so it's like, it's a lot. And she just, that character, she just delivers scene after scene. When she's on screen, you can't look away, and you're engaged with her, and you care about her, and you believe everything that she sets in front of you, whether it comes out to be true or not. And I just think it was one of those things, like, you ever see a character, or an actor and actress play a role, and you are an immediate fan of theirs, like immediately. You're like, after that performance, I will watch anything that this woman is in. And she was that for me. So she's my number 5. Deborah, I'm gonna try to say her last name one more time. Deborah Ayarind, Ayorinde. She is the main female protagonist in both Them season 1 and Them, the Scare, which is season 2.
Yeah, I need to watch that because I see it pop up a lot. I just haven't.
Girl, I have zero doubts you will absolutely love it. You will absolutely love it. It's so good. Both of them are really good.
I'll put it on. I try not to watch anything like super exciting when I'm working, because then I get sucked into either one or the other and miss out on the others.
I
So,
get that. Yeah,
um,
I think that season 2 is um more disturbing on a horror side than one was. One was disturbing because of the stuff they had to deal with as a Black family.
yeah.
But anyway, but no, highly recommend both of them. They're phenomenal.
So my number 5, I feel like if we're gonna have any overlap, this is what it's gonna be.
Okay.
I have Samara Weaving in Ready or Not.
Oh no, I didn't do that one.
What?
I did.
That
It's
was
not
the
because I
only
don't love
thing.
it. I was just trying to think because
Yeah,
we didn't talk about the list ahead of time. So I was trying to think away from things I thought you might put. So we didn't have overlap. But anyway, no, go.
same.
I love her. I love her. I love that movie so much. And
Yes.
they just confirmed two.
Did they really?
And she's in it. Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
Hmm.
Yeah, she feels like an outsider in this whole situation to begin with,
Yeah.
and gets thrown into the most insane situation. Like you don't expect to be like fighting
God
for your
no.
life against an entire psychotic family on your
Nope.
wedding night.
Nope.
And it's not like a seamless escape. Like when she's in the
God
car
no.
and OnStar shuts it down, like she has to deal with hurdle after hurdle and
Oh,
bullshit
so much
after.
anxiety.
Am I supposed to be? I'm trying to watch my language. I'm sorry. Um, it's so hard to do.
Yeah. Some of it's fine.
um,
I mean, it's,
yeah,
yeah.
she has to deal with all of this stuff,
Yeah.
and still at the end, like when she's just sitting there, didn't she like
Girl,
sit there and smoke
yes.
a
She,
cigarette?
yes.
And she's just like, I need a drink, I need to go to bed, I need a shower.
And it's so crazy because, like, in the moment, she's like not even really thinking about the emotional side of it. Like, the person
No.
she just promised to marry, like, you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't even get to that because it's just, I don't believe this. You know, it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's so good. And there's a lot of, I feel like, emotional range, even though she doesn't process a lot of that stuff in the
Oh no, I
meantime,
think it's
like
a trauma
it's
response, right? To just
oh,
shut down.
yeah,
Yeah, no, she played it
yeah.
beautifully.
And
Yeah,
it's just so good. And some of the one-liners and stuff that are in there, like
she's
it's just
fantastic.
great.
Yeah,
I mean, I
no,
love her in
yeah.
everything I see her in, but that
Oh, I know.
especially is
Yeah,
just
same. Yeah. Yeah, no, she's great. That's a good one. Yeah. I am like 87% sure that you knew that I was going to find a way to put this movie on something somewhere. But my number 4 is Yvonne Zima, who plays the vampire in The
the
Monster
Monster
Project.
Project.
Yeah.
When you
I
started
mean,
off that way, I was like, I know what this is.
yeah. So she plays a vampire. Um but the thing is like, and it's the thing I love about all the other monsters because the vampire is not the only monster in the movie, but um I love that this like concept of like that all of the monsters are like different takes on other monsters. So it's not just this thing of like, oh, it's a werewolf. Oh, it's this classic trope. Like she plays a very different take on a vampire. She's a tattoo artist, and the way she just delivers when she's sitting across from Brian. So the character's name is Shayla. When Shayla is sitting across from Brian and she's telling him about like her life as a vampire and what it feels like and how it works, and she's like, oh, when he's like, well, how do you do tattoos and be around blood? And so she's like, oh, she's like, she's like, sometimes I just take some, I can't help it. It's like a tip or something like that. And it's like, there's this whole thing about just the way she presents herself. And she's like her, like one of my favorite things that she does, and this is so messed up storyline wise, but she outs Brian as a not so recovering drug addict in front of all of his friends that thinks he's sober because she had his blood. That was the transaction for her interview as a vampire. That felt weird to say. Interview conversation as
With
a
a
vampire.
vampire.
I didn't like that. Anyway, so But anyway, so she like outs him and then he's like, and everyone gets upset and she goes, "Oh shit, sorry." Like her reaction to stuff is just so good. And I love her portrayal of such a tropey, been done a million times character. And I thought she brought new life to it. And she was very convincing. She obviously has the appeal going on. And like I loved her character. I just thought she was such a standout performer in that for me.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. I
Yeah,
I
she
also
is.
love her in that movie, so
Yeah, she's fantastic. So,
she
anyways,
nailed
what's your
it.
number 4?
My number 4, I can never. I don't know if I'm gonna say it right. Her first name, Micah Monroe. So she's most
Oh, from
recently she was,
Longlegs?
yeah, she was in Long Legs. She was
Maka?
also in Watcher.
Yeah, and
Um,
what's that one I hate? It Follows.
yeah, and she's in It Follows, which I haven't seen in forever. I vaguely remember watching it the first time, but yeah, and Longlegs, like you get the feeling watching it that she is. I mean, obviously she's got some kind of like semi psychic abilities, but you kind of get the feeling that she's also supposed to be like neurodivergent.
Yeah.
But at a time where these things aren't recognized
Mhm.
for what they are, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, but she is just she's so great at being awkward and
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh my god, she just when she's
She's
sitting in
great.
the room with her boss's daughter and the little girl's just asking her all these questions and she's just like,
Yeah,
"Yeah."
she's like, "Are you gonna come to my birthday party?" And she's like
And she's social contact.
she does not want to. It's like, "You have to come
Um,
in," and she was like, "Do I have to?" Like, her reaction to have it and I'm like, "That's a mood, right?" Like, nobody's
yeah.
being
Oh
so
my god,
cool.
it is. Like, but what if I've already changed into my pajamas? Like, that's
Oh my god, it's so great, like, genuinely, it's
yeah.
so great.
But then at the end, like, as things get more emotional and there's reveals and stuff like that, like,
Yeah,
you even though her character is you can tell is just doesn't feel things necessarily the same way that or processes emotions the same way, like,
yeah.
she does an excellent job when things start to hit the fan and she
Oh, I
realizes
totally
what's
agree.
going on and her whole world is turned upside down and
I totally agree. She plays that range, and it all felt, like, so natural, like, it never felt
yeah.
like any of her reactions to things were, like, forced. It all
Mm-mm.
just felt like, yeah, I mean, that's what it would be like, that's I mean, that makes sense to me or whatever. And,
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved her performance. I really like her in general. Even though I didn't like It Follows, I liked her performance. I really liked her in Watcher a lot.
Yeah. Oh,
That
it was
was
so
what
good.
sold me on her. And then so when and then obviously I went and saw Longlegs and I was just like, "Oh, so good." Yeah, no, she did a great job. She's great. Yeah.
She
Um,
is. I love
yeah. Um, my number 3, and taking it back a little bit, is Nicole Kidman and The Others.
That's
Um,
good.
I mean, obviously, if this shouldn't be a spoiler at this point, 'cause this movie's old, but the twist of this movie, I think, requires a second watch after you've watched it one time, because I think in order to get everything that Nicole Kidman gives you as the mom in this character, I mean, in this role, you have to watch it more than once, I feel like, because we get varying versions of her as the story is going.
Yeah.
The irritation, the disbelief, the paranoia, the loving, caring, my poor children, the you killed your children, lady. Like we get and then this realization of like, that moment when she wakes up in the very beginning of the movie, she thinks it was a dream. And she's like, "Oh my god, I get a second chance. I get a chance to do it different this time." And I think that there's many layers, and for the sake of time, I won't dive into all of those, but I just think she's captivating on screen. When she's scared, I'm scared. When she's stressed out, I'm stressed out. When she's angry, I'm angry. Like she just did such a great job of conveying all the layers that really existed within that character, because that character is not one dimensional, you know? So I had to have her on the list because when I think of just it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love the others, and it's such a staple, I think, in horror history, right? Because of what it was able to
Mhm.
do. But I just think she just did such a brilliant job playing that role, and so she had to go on my list.
Yeah. Yeah, she is really good. I mean, she's one of those that's good in like everything she does.
God, right? Yeah,
I
she's
don't
so
think I've
good.
ever seen her do anything
Except
bad.
those AMC commercials.
We're not gonna talk about
Billy the doll did it better.
that.
Anyway, who's your number
Ugh,
three?
those commercials kill me. My number three is Camille Rowe from Night of the Hunted. It's
I don't
on
know that
Shudder.
one.
So this one, I think it came out last year.
I'm gonna look it up while you
Um,
talk. Night of
she's like this high
I
power.
remember you talking about this movie though.
Yes. Um, so like her whole I was sold on this movie in like the first 10 minutes. There's this dialogue
Mhm.
exchange that just I was
Girl, she's
dying.
she's the main character. She's the main female lead in the Deep House.
Yes, yes, I forgot I was gonna
Oh,
bring that
I
up too.
love her. Okay, go ahead. This is yours. You
So
go.
yeah,
Listen.
so she's in a car with this dude, and it's some of the relationships are kind of ambiguous as to what exactly they are. And it's been a while since I've watched it, so I don't remember exactly who this dude is to her.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but he's like, you know what your problem is? And she immediately comes back at him with, my problem is men thinking they know what my problem is. And from there, I was like, I love you.
You're like,
Like,
"Ah."
so the whole thing, like, she is trapped in this convenience store at night by a sniper, and
Oh,
anybody that shows up gets murdered. Like,
sure.
and she's got him, I think it's like a walkie-talkie that he's on
Oh,
the other end of. So
mhm.
it's her like having this battle of wits with this guy because he has some level of personal connection to her, but she doesn't find out like,
Like what that is.
yeah. So it's her trying to figure out like this person knows all these things about her, but she can't
Mhm.
figure out who it is. And she's trying, like, every time she pops out of hiding, like, she has to be careful because she could get shot. So it's her by herself in this
Yeah.
setting for this entire movie. And I feel like that requires like an extra level of, because you don't have other people to react
There's
to.
nothing to,
It is
yeah.
it's you in there. So she just, she's not apologetic for things her character has done that this other dude knows about. Like, she's just she's just a badass. She's just amazing. Like, just
You're
owns
right.
everything. Like, I
Yeah.
did what I did because I had to, or because it's what I
Yeah.
needed to do. I felt I needed to do. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely
I'll
watch
have
that
to
one
check
out.
that one out. Yeah, because I loved her in The Deep House, but she
Oh,
plays
yes.
more of a delicate flower in that. She's not
Yeah.
as like
Not this one.
like a kind of strong, you know. So that means that she's definitely got some range then as an actress. So
Yeah.
that's good to know. I'll have to check that one out. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's good. It's on Twitter.
Okay, cool. So my second one, or my not my second one, my number two on my list is Rebecca Hall. Really anything, but specifically, I because I needed to pick for the sake of the discussion, I picked The Night House. Have you seen that
I
one?
haven't seen that one.
Oh, girl. You want to talk about a wild roller coaster of a movie? I won't give any spoilers, obviously, because that's not really the point anyway. Rebecca
Yeah.
Hall, did you see her in Resurrected, whatever it was, with Tim Roth? Girl, we got to get you on
That
the Rebecca
sounds
Hall chain. She's
that
phenomenal. She was
sounds
in another horror movie called The
familiar.
Awakening.
That also seems familiar.
Oh my God, I'm gonna send you a list. So she's the biggest thing that the honestly, the biggest thing is, and she brings this to every movie, every horror movie that I have seen her in requires a great deal of emotion, like a great deal of it. And there's just something about her, I think, that keeps your attention. Even in like, I felt like Resurrection had some like kind of lulls where it like was kind of taking too long. But because she was in it, you really just don't notice them as much because she's engaging. She keeps you
Yeah.
interested. And her line delivery is flawless. I think she does such a good job of balancing emotion and fear and bringing just this very I'm scared, but it's not going to stop me kind of mentality, I think is probably mostly what it is for me, especially in The Night House. Prioritize that one. You got to watch The Night House. It's so good. It's so weird, but it is such a good movie. Um,
I think it's on
and
my list, so I'll have to bump
yeah,
it up.
it's so good. But she just does such a good job of making you believe her. And I love every time she's, in something, she just is this strong-willed, I'm not taking it anymore kind of person, and it's great. Like she just does such a good job. So she's my number 2. Rebecca Hall, specifically, really anything she's in, but specifically The Night House.
Yeah, I'll watch it, and it's popped up a lot, like, when I'm scrolling through stuff,
Oh
so,
yeah. It was a
um,
popular movie for a little bit when it first came out. Felt like everybody was talking about it, but it's kind of died down.
yeah.
Yeah. So what's your number 2?
Um, my number 2 is another name that I'm gonna butcher. Um, A Aisling Frankie Fran Franciosi? Francoisi? I have no idea, and I feel terrible because I love her. Um, so I specifically picked her for The Nightingale, but she is also the lead in stop motion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have not seen either,
Um,
but I'm at least familiar with stop motion. So.
yeah. So The Nightingale it's something that's not usually in my wheelhouse because it is very heavy emotionally.
Oh,
Um, It's like I think it's like the 1800s, where she is a convict, where of course, you're a convict and you're just treated like garbage your
that.
entire life. Um, and they turn around like that's the guy that holds her papers to freedom is abusing her and refuses to like give her those papers. And her husband gets mad because, they want to live their life and they end up like and it's like right at the beginning, but they kill her husband. um they rape her in front of her husband and then kill him, and then they end up killing the baby on accident. She has a baby that's like a few months old, and the whole movie is her like because then these guys panic, they're part of the military, so they panic and they take off and they're trying to like get to safety, and of course everybody's going to believe them because
Yeah.
they're men, and she's just a convict. And it is her taking off through the wilderness after these dudes and chasing them down. And it's just
Wow.
so good. It
Yeah.
is so intense. Like I said, like the grief part of it is usually not, you know how I feel about that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
usually like, real life is sad. I don't need my
Oh,
movies to
I
be
know.
sad.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. For sure.
And
Yeah.
it is a long one. So you have to kind of be prepared for like a heavy watch that's gonna last
Also
a while,
long.
but it
Yeah.
is just seeing her have to display like everything that she goes through, and
Yeah.
is just like after these dudes, like
Dang.
so good, so
Yeah.
good, and she's really good in stop motion too. You definitely need to
I
watch
need
that.
to watch stop motion. It's on my list. I've been wanting to see that one though.
Yeah,
Um, so I feel like my number 1 may surprise you, but again, I was trying to kind of go like outside of what my like normal whatever is. My number 1 is Florence Pugh with
I think it's you. Midsommar.
no, of course not. Don't Worry Darling.
Oh, see, I haven't seen that one yet.
So, Don't Worry Darling came out around the same time that Barbarian did. And
Don't you talk shit
everybody
about Barbarian.
everybody was talking about Barbarian, and this movie got overlooked, and I hate it because it's to me it's far superior. Like it's such an amazing film, and it's so I don't even really it's got what's his name from One
Harry
Direction?
Styles.
Yes, and he's in it too, and he's great too, but it's not about him, it's about her. First of all, I will watch anything that she is in. That's well, I won't watch that romantic movie with Andrew Garfield because that looks sad as hell, and I'm not watching that. But anything horror wise with her, I will at least give a chance because I think she's a super talented actress. I also think she's hella charismatic and like her interviews and when you see her like out and about. And anyway, so but and Don't Worry, Darling, and again, I won't spoil anything, of course, but it's such a weird like ride of a movie because you spend 2/3 of the movie not knowing what is going on.
Mhm.
It's I think it's directed by Olivia Wilde or produced by Olivia Wilde, who also acts in it as well. And she was awesome in this as well. But Florence to me was this very sort of, for lack of a better word, a very normal take on a woman in a position that she's in. I felt like she was a true representation of a woman in that situation. Whereas sometimes in movies like that, especially I think it helped that they had Olivia Wilde's perspective, obviously, but movies like that that are made by men, the women are different. And I think you as a woman also know exactly what I'm talking about, where they come across very differently. And so
Yeah.
her commitment to her reality in this, she was like, y'all not about to fucking tell me I'm crazy. Like she was very like, um, just very like wanted this happy life with her. I think they're married, her husband, and they had this life that I wanted, and all their dreams were coming true, and everything was great. And they got to go to parties, and they had all these friends. And but when things stop making sense, she don't stop asking questions. And I loved her progression of the story as as the viewer, we're getting bits and more and more and more of the story, and we find out this big thing about what it's actually all about and what's actually going on, which is bananas. But I just loved her performance in this because it felt very real to me in a way that I don't know of another woman that has played a role quite that realistically before. Um, because a lot of times you think about like when people are like in situations, you're like, can you just pretend to go along with it to save your life? Don't let them know that you know they're an axe murderer. Like you got to be
Yeah.
smart about these things in these movies. But a lot of times in like slashers and stuff, they're not because that's not the type of movie it is. But in this, she's very smart. She sticks to her guns, but she's very smart and strategic about the way she handles it because she doesn't know what she's up against and she doesn't know what's actually going on. And it's just very, 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 very well done. It was in one of my, like, I don't know, probably not, I don't remember if it was my top 10 for the year that it came out, but if it wasn't, it was really close to it because I absolutely loved that movie.
Yeah, I remember hearing you talk about it, and I think I remember like you specifically saying that you thought it was better than Barbarian,
Yeah.
which crushes my soul because I
Just
love
watch the dang
Barbarian.
movie. Just watch it. And then I think the other thing is it's a completely different type of movie is the other thing too. But I just
Yeah,
wished more people had talked about it was the reason I felt so offended. I was like, this is such a
yeah.
great movie and literally like no one's talking about it. And they're only
It
talking
does
about
suck
Barbarian.
when you have like two really good movies that come out at the same
I
time.
know.
It's never like split equally between the two. It always seems to sway very heavily in one side as opposed to the other.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. So, but yeah,
Sucks.
Florence Pugh is my number one for this particular list for best female performances and specifically from Don't Worry, Darling.
That is good. Yeah, I have to see it. Harry Styles is pretty cute. You know he's with Olivia Wilde, right?
Yes, there was girl, when you have some time for a rabbit hole, look up the drama that was going on set
Oh
of
no.
that movie.
Oh no.
Just when you get a chance. Anyway, but no, it's a really good movie. I genuinely do think you will like it. Um,
Yeah.
it's really, really good. But anyway, so yeah, what's your number one?
My number one is Tina Ivlev. Ivlev? Something like that. Bound to Vengeance.
I think there's a theme
Um,
in your movies. I don't know that one. What's it called? Bound?
Bound to Vengeance. So, this woman gets kidnapped and she's being kept in a basement with, I can't remember if they were friends before or if they just become friends while they're down there.
Yeah.
Um, but the other girl dies and she ends up getting the upper hand on the kidnapper And instead of, like, she has these opportunities to just take off and be done with it, but she realizes that it's like this entire trafficking ring and that there are these other girls that need to be saved. And
Oh,
instead of just
wow.
like bailing and jumping ship,
Uh-huh.
she gets him to take her to these hot spots for this ring so that she can try and let these other women go.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's
Okay.
not one of those like nice, clean, she's in charge, she's pulling the strings kind of thing. Like there's a couple of times where you're like, oh shit, like she's gonna end up right back where she started.
Right.
So there's a lot of ups and downs, and I love that, even though she had every chance to take off and just like go live her happy little life
And
beyond the
she
trauma she's sustained at this point,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
she is concerned about taking down this ring if she can, but also like trying to release all these other women that she knows are in horrible conditions. And I can't remember if it's in like LA, somewhere in California,
Okay.
like modern day,
Right.
and she's a boss in this movie. Like,
She plays a Russian prostitute in Shameless. She's in a couple of episodes.
oh, okay. I've seen some of it. That's one of those shows like it just doesn't. I've
Oh,
tried to watch it a
I
few times
It's
and I
such
just
trash.
can't.
It's such trash. I loved it so much. I watched it from beginning to end. But she's been in a bunch of stuff too. She's also been in a bunch of Star Wars stuff. She does voice acting too, it looks like. So she's
Oh,
been in a
okay.
bunch of stuff. But yeah.
But yeah, her and it killed me for like 20 minutes trying to remember the name of this movie today because I
Mhm.
kept thinking it was something Eve, but her name is
Her
Eve
name is
in the
Eve. Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
So I
I
was
saw that
like,
on the IMDb page. Yeah.
oh my God, I was dying. I was like, I cannot believe that I love this movie this much and I can't
We
remember
didn't
it.
have a single overlap.
We didn't. See? I'm glad you didn't send me your list. I was like, I don't. And I thought I knew what direction you would go in. I did not.
I had
So,
no idea for you, honestly, because as much as we have in common, we like very different things too. So I
yeah.
didn't really know what direction it was going to go. And I did try to think of ones that I felt like were powerful, but maybe not like on everybody's mind either.
Yeah. Same.
Well, cool. Well, that was our first top list. I've got to stop saying it like that. Top five list.
Kept my shirt
Anyway.
on. I'm not getting paid enough for this to take the shirt off.
Um, so this time it was best per female performances in horror, and the next we're gonna do the next one we have planned is our five top picks for ghost movies, hauntings, and stuff like that. And yeah, let us know what list you might like to see from us or what content you're looking for. And yeah, we hope you have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next one.